Sebastián Valenzuela, welcome to GMF Talk. I'd like to start by focusing on social media. In what way would you say it's impacted Chile's political landscape?
On the positive side, you could say that social media over the years here in Chile has given voice to groups that traditionally didn't have any voice in the public sphere. This was very evident, for example, in the massive student-led demonstrations that took place here in Chile in 2011, and then again in 2015, 16. Even the feminist movement right before the pandemic hit Chile was organized and promoted through social platforms. And that, you could say, is kind of the nice story about social media and political participation here in Chile, where you see groups using social media to organize, to spread the word, to become engaged. But at the same time, you can see that social media is the place, basically, where false narratives and misinformation circulates. And to the degree that that happens, it's a cause of concern.
Now, you're part of an international panel studying misinformation. Are you seeing any changes in how misinformation is spreading globally?
Yes. Misinformation, as many other issues regarding the digital world, it's a moving target. And when we say it's a moving target, it's because the particular forms by which it takes, it spreads, changes. Misinformation is a problem that has, it's not something that was invented by the internet or social media. It has a long history around the world. But the particular forms are specific to the developments that you're seeing on platforms and in technologies. 5-7 years ago, we were not concerned about deep fakes. Now we are. Now we see that misinformation, for example, here in Chile and in many other countries in Latin America, memes, right? This typical product of social media, where you have a picture, an image, some word that provokes humor. Here in Chile is a prevalent form where that you see on how misinformation circulates. So I think it's always evolving on the one hand, but on the other hand, the public, users, and policymakers, the way they tackle misinformation also evolves.
And finally, looking at what journalists can do to combat misinformation, fact-checking is often not enough. So what would you like to see?
I think there are many things that journalists can do. You could say that the laws of supply and demand more or less also apply to misinformation. And I think misinformation spreads and becomes more ingrained regarding topics or areas where you don't have a lot of access to high quality information. And I think journalism, if it turns down, for example, paywalls and makes its content more relevant to publics, to segments of the public that don't have the economic resources to pay for it, and I know this is complicated, of course, but would be one way where you could say they are helping to combat misinformation. Platforms also have a big role. We found through the work of the International Panel on Information Environments that, for example, content labeling, it's one way where you could, a very effective way of combating misinformation. Again, we don't have at this stage of the development a lot of scientific evidence of what really works against misinformation, but fact-checking, content labeling, for example, are two that we know they work. And I think journalistic organizations could go a long way in augmenting their operations in those two fronts. I agree with you that fact-checking is not enough, but we need more fact-checking. And I know that content labeling will not be enough. We need more content labeling.